And I believe we are transmitting. I'm just waiting for confirmation. Not yet. Okay. So small talk, play charades. Oh, we are good. Okay. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year-ish. We're technically still in the month of January. Thank you for joining. My name is Jim Hoffman. I'm Vice President here at Wholesale Warranties. Today I have the awesome pleasure to sit down with Heath and Alyssa from heathandalyssa.com, an RV inspiration. We're here to just kind of kick off 2024, talk about 2023 a little bit, go through some travels. But first and foremost, let's start off Heath and Alyssa. How are you guys doing?
We are doing great. I still say Happy New Year too, although it's now like a month in.
I feel like February is the cutoff.
Yeah, then we'll stop.
Yeah. I mean, technically, we still got a day in, so I think I think we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
So today, kind of hoping to discuss a little bit of our lessons learned in 2023, RV inspiration, which is with you guys, our recent adventures that you guys have done. It sounds like you guys have done some pretty interesting travel. What's in store for you for 2024? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you guys have been, I think, married about 10 years. It's been about 10 years since your honeymoon trip of all 50 states. Does that track so far?
That tracks.
It's shocking, but it's true.
So that's quite a bit to unpack. But kind of starting it off, if for those of you that don't know, if you don't know Heath and Alyssa, they've been traveling full time. And guys, actually, I'll probably pass it over to you to give a better introduction of yourselves. But for all of our followers, I said it earlier and I'll say it again, heathandalyssa.com. But if you guys could kind of just do a quick introduction on who you are and what you're doing and maybe what you've been up to.
Is that you elbowing me to give the introduction?
Go for
sure.
it.
So 10 years ago, they'll start there and go blaze through it quickly. But we got married and hit the road in an RV in 2014, and which is it was the catalyst for us being in the whole RV space. And it was, we've been having this conversation recently where we've been talking about like pivotal moments in our lives and like decisions that you don't realize at the time that are really impactful and life-changing. And for us, that was buying this old 30-year-old RV back in 2014 and deciding to go on this cross-country road trip, because that was not only like a catalyst for us living this unconventional life for the past decade, but it also a catalyst in our careers and our work and our business and what we do today. And so we did this road trip around the country on our honeymoon. We did all 50 states in a year. We did 49 of them in an RV, flew to Hawaii. We did.
One day we'll rent an RV in Hawaii.
Just to say we've done.
I need to check this
yeah,
out.
RV in 50 states. It's a vanity metric that nobody cares about except for us.
I do care.
And then over the last like 9 years since then, we've built a handful of different businesses in the RV space. Alyssa has published 2 books, Beginner's Guide to Living in an RV and RVing Across America. We hosted a conference for 5 years called the RV Entrepreneur Summit. And then most recently, we bought RV Inspiration, which is a blog focused on helping turn your RV into your home. And we have a website also where you can sell renovated RVs as well, called renovatedrvsforsale.com. So that's kind of like the high level 30,000 foot view of stuff.
And we have 2 kids.
We have 2 kids. Yeah.
I think are worth mentioning maybe.
They travel with us.
They do.
I was going to bring them up because a lot of our affiliates, they're either their kids are grown or they've gone on to college or they're older, but your guys' children are relatively young, actually, very young.
2 and 4.
Yeah, Eli just turned 2 while we were in Portugal.
I think that's been it's been an evolving conversation because I think we did things in reverse. there's more and more people who are hitting
what do we do backwards?
retirement and like living in an RV. Like most people do that later on in their career. We're like 23. That seems like a good call. And this was like before like a lot of peak van life and COVID boom and all those things. So like when we pitched our friends on this idea, it was still very much like a weird thing in 2014. And so we had this life for a handful of years where it was very easy to integrate work-life balance, where we didn't really have any. Like we just worked all day, and then like when we were done and we were burned out, like we'd go on a hike. And so it was really easy and fluid. And then we had kids, and everyone's like, when you have kids, everything's gonna change. And we're like, no, it's not. Like we're gonna be able to figure this out. And then everything changed.
But we figured it out.
And then so the last 5 years have been a recalibration, I guess, of figuring out like how do these different things blend and like come together. But
it's all about what you value, right? Like we said, we value travel. So these kids are going to travel whether they want to or not, because they got us as parents. And so Ellie's been traveling since she was 4 weeks old. And Eli, we just counted up yesterday, has been to 11 countries in his first 2 years. And so they travel well. They get easier and easier every month, I think.
Yeah, they do. I wouldn't say we figured it out, but we are figuring it out.
Actively.
Like maybe
Kids change fast.
Yeah.
We're almost out of diapers though, so things are really about to get easy.
Yeah.
Things are about to get very entertaining. I can speak as somebody who has children who are a little bit younger than that. We're out of the toilet potty training phase, but there's another phase right around the corner, and I just enjoy every moment because it's awesome. And Alyssa, you mentioned Portugal. We'll get there in a minute, but something that you kind of mentioned, doing it backwards, I can see where you were going with that, right? Typically people work and then they retire, and then all of a sudden they kind of get an RV and go. And before RVing became incredibly popular, everybody knows during COVID that if you didn't have an RV, you wanted one. And if you wanted one, you were going to try to go out and get one. But even before all that, you guys kind of took the idea and blazed your own trail to say, you know what, not only are we going to do this, but if and when kids are in the future, we're going to continue to do it and figure it out. And so, I myself as a parent, but also as someone who enjoys the outdoors, like I think you guys are amazing and trailblazing at what you're doing, because I know it cannot be easy, especially with younger ones. But not only what I respect the most is not only have you been successful with it, but you're also showing and educating those that want to know more about it on how to do it. And I can say from our side here at Wholesale Warranties, having you as a partner, like that is, to us, that's one of the things that we love about you guys so much, is that not only are you running businesses and what have you while you're on the road, you're also raising a family, and you're also willing to, for lack of a better term, kind of share that secret sauce with anybody who's looking at that lifestyle. Because I do think, especially over the last probably 2 or 3 years, like post peak of COVID, that work-life balance has never been more important. Or maybe some people are just now starting to understand truly what that means. And you guys kind of give a little bit of a template on, if this is the path you want to take, here's how we did it. So kudos to you guys on that.
Appreciate that.
Switching over. So you mentioned Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
When was that trip?
So we kind of planned out a wild European adventure, but if you're American like we are, you can only be in Europe for 90 days without needing a visa. And so we found a school program called Boundless Life where we could have the kids be in school. And it was about like an 86-day thing. But we wanted to be in Europe a little bit longer. So we found out that you could be in the UK and not need a visa because it's not a part of the same, union of Europe and everything. Complicated, don't need to know the details, but we went over to the UK early and we rented a motor home over there and did a big 2-week trip around England and Wales and everything. And then we hopped down to Portugal for more of the real life kids in school type of travel.
Yeah, but to layer on that, if anybody is interested in, like, UK was on our bucket list for a long time to really explore the country. So we went to England and Wales, and we still need to go to Northern Ireland and Scotland and the rest of Ireland. But we went over there. My friend Joel owns Harvest Host, and he bought a company called Brit Stops, which is like Harvest Host, but in the UK, instead of like having all these huge wineries, which they do also have, you park at pubs. And so we basically pub hopped. We went to.
It was kind of like the ideal, like quintessential what you like picture in your mind of England, of like pubs and beer and fish and chips. But it was like that every night for 2 weeks, and we just camped in the parking lot.
Yeah, so we did
awesome.
over 30 pubs. So we did a lot of fun stuff. But I think that's an interesting thing if you ever think about like traveling around, kind of like small town UK. I don't know how many people want to do that.
Well, when we talk to people about wanting to go abroad, the most common answer we hear specifically for camping abroad is New Zealand, and then the second one we hear is the UK, mostly Scotland and England. And so that was something that we'd wanted to do for a really long time, and finally got to make that happen a few months ago. It was
awesome. I mean, I think one of the things we realized, I don't know how you are with kids, like cities are cool, but most of the cities we go to feel the same. That's just kind of our frame on it. It's like, oh, that was cool, but it was kind of a city. Like, we found the parks, we went to some cool restaurants, like there were some cool buildings. It's a city. Like, we get a lot of energy from finding like the beautiful sites. And I think that's probably from so many years of RV travel in the US. Mm-hmm. And so to get to some of these smaller towns where it's like, one of the pubs we went to was built in 1406. And there was still like original beams and stuff that were actually before 1406. And I was like, wow, this is old enough for Christopher Columbus's like great grandparents to have like had a pint here. And it's like beautiful settings. There's like 2,000 people who live in this village. And I mean, there was just some really cool places that we got to go and experience like that you would have never been able to really do had you not like rented an RV or a vehicle to like go to some of these smaller towns. And there's a lot of beautiful sites in Wales. The roads are a whole other beast. I think
you'll need like warranties on top of warranties for these types of roads.
My dad, it was the first time I've really had to pay a substantial amount
insurance
from a rental perspective. My dad we took my parents, two different RVs. My dad hit a couple vehicles and things. So, but I recommend it.
Okay. I recommend it. So, because I'm going to unpack a lot of this stuff real quick. Okay. So, first and foremost, I think anyone who is watching or will watch this in the future understands, but moreover looks for the journey in between the cities, right? Like, I look at our family travel, and a city is a city, but what's in between those, right? Where's the historic things, or where's the things that a lot of people don't get to see? So I think you're spot on there. And then ironically, us here at Wholesale, we've been getting a few. Usually we used to try to flag them, but we've been getting like international calls for warranties, and we're like, no, we don't offer them. But we don't offer them in the UK. But so can you maybe just a quick explanation of just what was that process like? Like, you could be one of the very first individuals that I've spoken to who's gone abroad, rented an RV, and driven around. Obviously, it comes with a few hiccups, not for you, but for your dad, possibly. But what was that? Can you walk us through that experience?
Yeah, I think we've rented an RV now in like 12 different countries. Like we've
rented an RV from like in Europe and then crossed
different countries
into multiple countries. But we've rented RVs on 4 different continents, and the process is all very similar as far as you get a lot of information beforehand on the website or in like onboarding emails as far as this is the RV you're getting, this is everything that's included. And then when you go to pick up the RV, it's usually an hour or 2 of just orientation of here's how the RV works and everything. We've only had to do one of them not in English, which has been nice. I was in Japan. We did it all through translators. But they'll walk you through how all the tanks work and how to add water and all the different systems and things. And a lot of instances we've taken like little test drives of it, like if it's a manual RV, which is really common in Europe specifically. And so we'll go through all of that, sign all of the paperwork. And then they're really like, okay, bye. Like, we'll see you in 2 weeks or whenever you come back. Here's the number to call if anything bad happens. We hope you don't call. Basically.
Yeah. Our favorite rental company though in Europe, we've booked through them twice now. They're called Anywhere Campers, and they do one-way rentals anywhere in Europe. So they will fly out, they'll drive out in your RVs, deliver them to wherever you want to go, and then they'll fly out and pick them up. And it's like everything included. And we've done that now twice because if you have like a month, you're trying to do like a really cool road trip across Europe or something like that. Like if you don't want to have to do a loop, because then basically you don't get to cover near as much ground. And so the one ways have been really cool because we've been able to basically just optimize our short 30 days. And my chair just broke, but I got it.
Optimize.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of going live. Kids running in, it is what it is. So, I mean, we'll have to put that website in the comments along with Joel's, the sister brand to Harvest Host for the UK, because I do know that Harvest Host is obviously incredibly popular here in the States. And so having something abroad is just one more reason to go, right? Yeah. Now, I know that when we've traveled abroad and we've rented a car, the cars are like this big. So are the RVs, for those that don't know, is it still class A, B, C, or do A's not even exist? And people are like, no, you can't touch those for obvious reasons.
A's exist.
A's do exist. They're rare. Whenever we see them, they're almost always plated for the Netherlands. Like in Southern Europe, which is primarily where we've RV'd, you don't see them often, but we ended one of our trips on the Costa Brava in Spain, and we were in this huge campground, probably the biggest campground we've ever been at.
500 sites.
Yes, hundreds of RV sites. But we saw this one section, I guess, where the campsites were bigger, and it was a bunch of these Class A's that would probably about 30 feet. I don't think they'd be any longer than that. It'd be way too hard to navigate the roads, but they were all from more of the northern countries. But Netherlands does have really relaxed laws on buying and registering a vehicle if you're not a citizen, because we've looked at buying an RV in Europe and everything says go to Amsterdam to buy an RV if you're a citizen of a different country, because they can set you up with the legal registration and everything.
Most of the motorhomes that you see to buy or rent in Europe are like a standard Class B plus small C, where it's like 23 foot. It looks like a Winnebago View or something like that, where it's like 23 feet. And then you call the campground and they say, do you have a big RV or a small one? And you don't want to make the mistake of what I've done, which is where I say we have a small one, and then you show up and they're like, "That's huge." Yeah. A lot of people have just like regular vans and stuff. So, but that's
like a minivan. Like you see, like minivan rentals,
like Volkswagen pop-up tent.
Yeah, that have pop-up tents, or like you sleep in like a converted bed on the inside and everything.
But I will say that most people don't think about going to Europe just because public transit is so easily and readily accessible in Europe. Like most people don't think of renting a motorhome or think that would be really stressful when you go to Europe. That's actually not been we've done both, especially with young kids. Like we've traveled. I'm going to make sure this isn't my kid's nanny calling me. We're good. I don't want to ignore a call for our kids, but
I've never done that.
We've done both scenarios where we've done like hotel or Airbnb hops with kids, and you've got your luggage. And like the reason we've opted for RVing so much is like, one, I think we're creatures of habit. So we're like, how are we going to explore these new countries? Like we've done RVing for so long, that's not intimidating. Like, let's go. Yeah. But also some of our favorite memories that we've had traveling Europe have come from like these like really interesting like national parks or like beautiful sites or small towns that,
and you could only get there.
Yeah,
if
like
you have
one
a
day,
car.
like one year we were renting an RV in northern Italy, and so we like started in Venice with our friends. We were caravanning, and like a couple days in, we're like driving through these switchbacks in the Italian Dolomites, just like incredible views. And then we get to the top of this mountain. It's all very terrifying. It's my first time driving a manual, but then we get up to the top and we see this like crazy looking gondola with all of these different caves and caverns that were carved out during the Great War. And we were like, oh my gosh, this is, so we pull over, and it was just like really cool experiences that, like, even if you were planning a trip in Europe, you'd be like, oh, we're going to stay in this area and this Airbnb in this city, and we're going to like go to and from, but it doesn't leave a lot of room for spontaneity, or for you to like stumble upon things you wouldn't have found otherwise if you're just in those areas. So that's been one of the reasons we continue to, you know, use RVing abroad as like a method of travel that we like a lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Before we started the live, I think I was sharing with you guys that me and my family recently traveled, and, you know, in some of the cities that we went to, we got a guide, right? But some of our best days are actually the best day that we had was when we missed our train and we just frolicked for the day by ourselves. No guide, nothing, because there wasn't another train until the next day. You know, so I agree with you on the, you know, you might miss out on something if you're just going from A to B to C, with like a designed itinerary, for lack of a better term. What would you guys suggest? Because obviously you've traveled international, you've gone to a bunch of different countries, rented RVs over there. If someone was listening and was like, you know what, this summer I think that's a good idea, what would be like the one or two things that you guys like, the best piece of advice or recommendation or tough lessons to learn? I also do want to hear more about what your dad hit exactly and how it happened and how many times it happened.
Yeah,
but
we'll come back to that.
We can save that for later too, as like a teaser, like a part 2. But I'm also really interested in that, because I'm like, that would really suck to get an accident abroad. But, you know, if someone was like, you know what, this summer, 2024, let's do it, you know, partner, let's head abroad and travel. What would you guys suggest, or what would you guys advise on something to that effect?
I would say the best, worst place you could go, if you're talking summer 2024, would be France. Best place because hands down, it's the most.
Why France? They're Olympics, right?
The Olympics is why you should not go, because I'm sure France is going to be insane for all of July and August. We've already like gotten a couple emails from people saying like, yeah, I'm renting a camper and I'm going to go to the Olympics and then, you know, hop around the country. So I'm sure like it's already the most tourist visited country in the world, and it's going to be 10x this summer. But it is the most camping friendly country we've ever visited. We thought New Zealand was super camper friendly, and they are. They're going to have like camper van parking spots in your grocery store parking lot, which is next level. But France is very open to campers and has all the resources for campers most places you go. So like a big gas station, or what you might call a truck stop in the States, is called an air in France. And you can dump your tanks there. You can fill up your water there. You can fill up your propane there. You can fill up your propane yourself. You don't have to go find someone that has the right kind of license to fill up your propane for you. So that's a big, nice thing. But it's very camper friendly, and there's so many different places to explore in France. It's a big country. It's like the size of Texas, which is where we are at the moment. So there's plenty of things to explore. But that's what we did, not this most recent fall, but the year before, when Eli was just learning to walk and we were exploring all over. But they've got the coast and they've got the mountains and they've got just the best wine you'll ever have in your life. Not an understatement. Go to the Champagne region in your camper. You can camp at any of these champagne houses and you'll love that. You can give your advice, but that's where I would go.
To France?
Yeah.
Even though you said don't go to France.
It's going to be busy this year. It's just going to be busy
Right.
this year. Just lock away the memory, the advice for another time, but just maybe not July.
I think you just pick a place that you're interested in going. Like our first year we did.
But some countries like you can't RV there, so don't just pick a place that you're interested in going.
Like if you can, you have flexibility in your schedule. I would say wait till fall, just because it's shoulder season and flights are way cheaper. RV rentals are way cheaper, and it'll just be way more simple to like get around.
Advice.
I know not everyone has like a lot of people take trips in the summer, right? If you don't have that flexibility, but if you do, that would be my advice. We've done several of ours and over there in the fall, and it's easier to like be agile because you can like call up a campground and whatever. But it's actually really simple. And if it were me, I would look into a company like Anywhere Campers. They've never paid us for like endorsement. They should, because we talk about them a lot. But
we do talk about them a lot.
They'll just handle all the logistics for you. So it's like they will find the biggest grocery store parking lot area near you to bring you that motorhome. They'll train you up, make sure you feel really good about it. We've had multiple things happen, because that would be my biggest fear. It's like, I'm going to Europe. I'm going to rent an RV from some random company, and then I'm going to get stuck on the side of the road when something happens. And so there's been a couple scenarios where we've had issues come up on like these 30-day trips. And they've always been able to like liaison with us, take care of us. So I just think that would probably be my biggest piece of advice, is like try to go in shoulder season and find a company like Anywhere Campers that's like really reputable. There's a lot of rental companies over in Europe. There's like Indie Campers, which is like more of like Cruise America vibe. Like they're huge. So like you might get a good experience, you might not get a good experience. It just totally depends.
Haven't heard many good experiences.
So I would say find a reputable company, so that way you feel like trusted, like no matter what happens, like we're gonna be taken care of on this trip.
Yeah. And if anyone from Anywhere Campers is listening, you might wanna try to circle something up with Heath and Alyssa.
We'll just send them this clip and be like, guys, we'd like to come back.
I've already said I'm putting it in the comments. Like I'm all in on it. So some exciting new development. So I want we'll kind of switch gears, pun intended, a little bit, especially because manual transmissions in Europe. So we'll switch gears and RV inspiration. So what's new and exciting over there?
So we bought the RV Inspiration website about a year ago from a friend who, she was in our town in Colorado for the RV Entrepreneur Summit. And we had her and her husband over for dinner, and she knew that we had sold a business before, and she was asking just us for some advice because she was thinking about selling hers. And after she left dinner that night, Heath was like, I think I want to buy her business. I think that would be a really good fit for us. And the whole premise of the blog that she built is how to renovate your RV and just make it beautiful, which, 10 years ago, right now, we were buying a really old RV and renovating it and making it into our very first home as a couple. And so it's kind of been a dream job for me to just get to sit around and write all these articles about these beautiful RVs, because now that RVing is so popular, there's professional renovators out there and RV flippers and people doing just incredible things with only 150 square feet of space that make them look so high end and so luxurious.
Yeah. And I think the stats are kind of interesting around, like, I don't know the exact number. I don't know if anybody knows the exact number of how many people renovate their RVs after they buy them or do some element of a renovation. Like you might tear out a dinette booth, or you might replace a jackknife couch or whatever. Like, but a lot of people do some type of modification. And so to be able to kind of like pull together a lot of smart people and resources on how they've been able to do those renovations. And then there's this whole community of actual professional renovators who do this as their business, and they're flipping RVs, or they're renovating them for clients, or they're doing a mixture of those things. So that was kind of a space that we knew, like, we had seen people do, but now that we've gotten into this business, it's been really interesting to see. So there's a Facebook group we have. It's just called RV Renovations. There's over 100,000 people in there. We had over 2 million people use the site in 2023 to help plan their renovations. So it's been cool to be able to see, that be a continued like resource for people who are looking to like make their RV feel like their home.
Yeah, and I think that's that's going to be such a focus for so many current and future RV owners, because we had this huge surge right in 20 where everybody went out and got them. And then in 21, you saw a lot of upgrading or switching of them, right? And so I think as the market's starting to stabilize a little bit, you also had some that were, for lack of a better term, they were kind of rushed through production, especially in that late 2020, beginning of 21, where they just pushed them through as quick as they could. And so there's going to be a handful of owners that look up one day and be like, well, we have to renovate this because the wallpaper's coming off, or, whatever the scenario is going to be. But I think that now that the market has kind of settled down a little bit, I think the renovation piece is going to be huge, because how are you going to, well, one, people like to differentiate theirs versus, the status quo. And then two, if you are utilizing it, change isn't necessarily a bad thing. So that's really exciting. So it's been about a year, you said?
Yeah, we bought it just before Christmas, I think,
it's been like
last year.
A year and a month. Yeah,
a year and a month.
Nice. And what about your own RV? Have you done any renovations to your own RV recently?
Well, there are those who can do, and there are those who can teach.
Fair.
From the wisdom of others. When we renovated our RV in 2024, it was mostly paint, and then we replaced the
in 2014.
2014. What did I say?
2024. You said 2024.
Oh.
You did, but I wasn't going to hold it against you. I was just going to let it.
But Heath's granny just got a trailer that she wants to fix up and make into a really cute little home. And so we're talking about in March, we'll be stateside for a little bit and going and helping her physically do some of the work on hers. I'm feeling probably overconfident based on my real life experience renovating RVs. But I've seen so many pictures of beautiful RVs, and Granny and I have sat down, like, we know what paint colors she wants and like what she wants where and everything. So I've got delusions of grandeur, but it is going to be beautiful.
We haven't been in a space long enough in the States to like really dive in and do our own RV renovation. And we don't even have an RV right now in the States. So we've mostly been moving around internationally with a base in Colorado. But I think you have been itching to do a renovation since we bought this site. So.
I have been. Give me a screwdriver or power drill.
Is Granny gonna permit pictures and videos and befores and afters? And
I think she will, because we plan to help buy some of the stuff, and so Granny would be excited.
We're buying her approval, is what I'm hearing.
That's how I hear it. I just hope that we'll be able to see.
Yeah, Granny's RV is a write-off.
No, you go.
This is a business expense. What about family trips? You mentioned March, so we're coming up, before we know it, we're going to blink, and we're going to be kind of in a summer surge getting ready. Obviously, France is going to be super busy with the Olympics, but then, that doesn't mean that travel plans are done. What do you guys have coming up?
So we're planning to spend the summer in Colorado at the moment. That's kind of like our
part of the summer.
And then we'll do Europe. And we kind of like realize how we always plan our year with in the RV space. Like we'd have like an anchor point, if you will. Like, we'd always want to see the leaves in the Northeast. So that's our anchor point for this year. And then we kind of plan everything around that. And sometimes those are like real hard anchor points, and sometimes they're softer. And a friend had our anchor point this year is Taylor Swift in Vienna. As love or hate, we're Swifties, and Alyssa was bummed she didn't get to go to the US, and our friends had extra tickets, and I was like, I will buy them. Alyssa will be very excited.
And I was.
And so that's our anchor point is we're going there, and then The
in
rest
August. And so we're trying to plan around the aforementioned visa restrictions, how we can be in Europe and go to the concert and then put the kids in school in Spain in the fall. And so we're probably going to hop around Ireland and Scotland, which have different visa restrictions. And
August.
the more we, in August and in July, but the more we look at that, the more we realize, like, if we really want to go all the places we want to go, like, getting an RV is the best option. If you really want to get out into like the Scottish Highlands and like go see all the lakes and all the islands and all the national parks, like, you need a vehicle of some kind, because you're not getting out into this beautiful wilderness by train, except the Harry Potter train, which obviously Harry Potter and Taylor Swift. So that's why I'm planning my summer travels.
Well, I mean, my wife and daughter had the opportunity and were fortunate enough to see T Swift. We just usually call her Tay Tay in the house. Just depends on the mood and the vibe. But I think that's going to be amazing. I mean, I don't know very many people who can say that they saw T Swift internationally, right? So I know a bunch of people who are able to say that they saw T Swift when she was in the States. And gosh, in part two, Heath, when we talk about your dad's accent, I also want to talk on your guys' take on the T Swift Kelsey thing. Because I know there's a lot of traction with it. To be honest, I thought Travis Kelsey's brother stole the show at the last game when I think it was in Buffalo. He wasn't wearing a shirt. I was just like, wow, that is a great way to introduce yourself to your brother's girlfriend. But be that as the we'll do that in part two, because that's, I mean,
that sounds great.
That could be hours. We could be here for hours. Let's see. Back in 22, Heath, I have a thing that says that you got to ride in Tuscany.
Yes. Yeah. So we did a bike trip across Tuscany in 2022. So I think like our last kind of,
I think you said no part of my body was involved in biking 1,000 miles across Italy.
Yeah. Basically there's something
emotional support. That's what I was there for.
There's something called bike packing, where basically like you just pack all your clothes and food and gear onto bikes and then like camp wherever you want to go.
You didn't do that.
We camped along the trip, but we had like a support van that carried the tent and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, it was like a 300 mile trip across Tuscany. So that's another alternative. If you don't want an RV, you could just bike across country. So,
which you still needed an RV for.
Yeah.
But I think that's also that kind of go off topic a little bit. But when you guys are traveling abroad and you're renting RVs abroad, is there options to rent bikes with the RV, or could you find those at like local campgrounds? Because I do know a lot of our demographic, a lot of our policy holders often ask about bike racks, bikes, things along those lines, because they travel with them, right? And now, granted, your trip was epic, and I don't know many that could do that. I, like Alyssa, would be there for emotional support for anybody who needs it if they want to do something like that. However, that is not me. But I just out of curiosity, for those looking to maybe do their first international RV trip, is that, are bikes accessible there, and kind of, I don't know, just any information you guys might have with that.
A lot of rental companies, you could just like throw a bike on there too. Like a lot of at least
Anywhere Campers provides the bikes and a bike rack and a garage that fits the bikes. So every rental comes with them through like that company, but other companies you can add it on.
Yeah. Then also we had come across several campgrounds in Europe that you can do bike rentals, like the one in Florence. I want to say they had bike rentals, or maybe we used our bikes. But we had bikes.
I haven't seen bike rentals as often, because I think a lot of people just bring their own.
Yeah, there's actually also a really cool company called Bike Flights. I didn't know about this, but I bought my bike over there and shipped it back to the US. So if you're like an avid cyclist, which I don't consider myself in that category, but if you wanted to take your bike with you because you were going to like stay over there for 6 months or a year. This company, you could just buy a flight for your bike, and they'll deliver it like door to door. And it's actually like pretty turnkey, insured and everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dang, that's okay. That's great. And Alyssa, I love that you started that with Anywhere Campers provided it. I was
Not an ad.
I was kind of hoping you would go anywherecampers.com. Just to the point.
Hey, I'm a big fan. If you're gonna rent something, I want everything all inclusive. Like, don't make me pay an extra $20 to have a grill. Like, just throw that sucker in there. And that's why we chose Anywhere Campers to begin with, because you don't want to feel nickeled and dimed, when you're like checking out.
Jim, go ahead and do us a favor. Cut up every time we say Anywhere Campers, so we can just
we'll send them a commercial
over to them. Yeah.
We will. I'll work on that for you guys. But I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, Alyssa. For our own travel, right? We have small kids too, so when we travel somewhere, we don't want to have to be like, oh, let me look at the pick list menu of items that I would like to have added on. I'd rather just have everything kind of taken care of. And I would imagine too, most who are traveling or who are thinking of that would want something similar, right? I mean, the really rolled up your sleeves and we're going to rent an RV and not plan or not do anything. I think those individuals are out there. I think the vast majority are more like, okay, let's get all of our eggs in the same basket so we're comfortable while we're doing it, right? That's one of the big perks of RV travel. In the States, you're traveling in your RV and you have all the widgets and all the necessities for the most part that you're going to need. So I agree with you in the essence where if Anywhere Camper provides it, like that's a good thing. All right, with all your guys' traveling, all your do it yourself experiences, what would be the one key? And I know we talked about France, and I know we talked about travel times. Is there anything about RVing abroad or full-time that you would recommend, especially for those, because a lot of our viewers and demographic are thinking of getting into the RV space. They haven't quite committed, so they're doing some research. Just out of curiosity, what advice would you give to those individuals who are just looking to get into that RV lifestyle?
Ooh.
Just in general?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the States, and probably just because it's what I'm looking at all the time, like when I see a before photo of an RV, it can be really hard to picture your life, especially like your full-time life in this space. It's maybe uninspiring or outdated or doesn't feel like it could be a home, or doesn't feel like it has all of the things that you might want in a house, like the kind of oven you might want or the sink or whatever, like little thing it is, that you want as like your little luxury in your tiny home. So like making those renovations goes so far into turning a space from just being like a temporary camping trailer to being an actual home where you could spend weeks, months, years, however long it is that you're wanting to be mobile. And I saw this one renovation, and like she shows, the before and after of the factory built couch with, the cup holders in it, and it reclines and all that stuff, but it's maybe a little clunky or dated or not your style. And to be able to just grab a couch on Amazon for $200, because they're like insanely cheap whenever you buy furniture on Amazon, it kind of blows my mind. But it fits a new style, and then you can add paint or wallpaper or swap out your countertops or whatever it is, however DIY you want to get. But it completely transforms the space, and it can go from being this really drab, beige, brown, boring, factory feeling place to then, oh, this is our home. This is our kids area. This is the bunk room. This is our master bedroom. It's so cozy. And it's really cool to see how many different ways people have then transformed their RVs. So if you're looking at full time, and if you're looking at RVing in the States, like, it is a little bit of work. It is a little bit of money, but if it's going to make your trailer into a home, it's worth it to think of a couple renovations that you can do yourself to then completely transform your space to make it feel comfortable and beautiful.
I would agree with that. Like we had not really entertained the idea of being full-time RVers. We just wanted to go on a big road trip before we originally got on the road. And the thing that actually convinced us we could do this was seeing an online renovated RV, and it looked really nice. And it was like, we could all of a sudden see ourselves in that space. And
yeah.
we're like,
it was hard to picture before when
Yeah.
it was so dated. It was like, that looks like my grandma's like literal RV, but not like a
Yeah.
place for 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds or families.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point.
Oh, that's awesome. So obviously people can find you at heathandalyssa.com. Where else, what's the best way to look for you guys? Especially what you just pointed out, Heath, was that, you were inspired by a video, right? So is there other places to find you guys besides just heathandalyssa.com?
Yeah, if you want to just look at pretty RVs all the time, whenever your heart desires, Instagram at RV Inspiration is a great one. We post all the RVs that are for sale on our website, and then just all the pretty RVs that we find on the internet there. So that's a really great spot to save inspiration for your own remodel. And then RVinspiration.com as well. We're going to share all the how-tos on everything that you could imagine doing with your RV interiors, from painting to wiring your own light fixtures. That's a great place for that. But if you're looking more at international RVing, our blog, Heath and Alyssa, or our YouTube channel, we've shared a lot of videos across 12 countries, 4 continents of wild RVing adventures, most of which with a baby of some sort in tow.
Well, awesome. Guys, I can't thank you enough. I hope in version 2, we cover the T-Swift Travis Kelce thing, along with Heath's dad's driving capabilities. But again, guys, really, really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Jim. This was fun.
Bye, guys.
Bye.